वहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः।
पुनरपि जननं पुनरपि मरणं पुनरपि जननी जठरे शयनम्। इह संसारे बहुदुस्तारे कृपया पारे पाहि मुरारे। प्रत्याचर्पटविरचितग्रन्थः पुण्या पुण्यविवर्जितपन्थः। योगी योगनियोजितचित्तो रमते बालोन्मत्तवदेव। कस्त्वं कोऽहं कुतायातः कामे जननी को मे तातः। इति परिभावय सर्वमसारं विश्वं त्यक्त्वा स्वप्नविचारम्। त्वयि मयि चान्यत्रैको विष्णुः व्यर्थं कुप्यसि मय्यसहिष्णुः। भवसमचित्तः सर्वत्र त्वं वाञ्छस्य चिराद्यदि विष्णु त्वम्। शत्रौ मित्रे पुत्रे बन्धौ मा कुरु यत्नं विग्रहसन्धौ। सर्वस्मिन्नपि पश्यात्मानं सर्वत्रोत्सृज भेदाज्ञानम्। कामं क्रोधं लोभं मोहं त्यक्त्वात्मानं पश्यति सोऽहम्। आत्मज्ञानविहीना मूढा ते पच्यन्ते नरकनिगूढः। येयं गीता नाम सहस्रं ध्येयं श्रीपतिरूपमजस्रम्। ज्ञेयं सज्जनसङ्गे चित्तं देयं दीनजनाय च वित्तम्। सुखतः क्रियते रामा भोगः पश्चादन्तशरीरे रोगः। यद्यपि लोके मरणं शरणं तदपि न मुञ्चति पापाचरणम्। अर्थमनर्थं भावय नित्यं नास्ति ततः सुखलेशः सत्यम्। पुत्रादपि धनभाजां भीतिः सर्वत्रैषा विहिता रीतिः। प्राणायामं प्रत्याहारं नित्यानित्यविवेकविचारम्। जाप्यसमेतसमाधिविधानं पूर्ववधानं महदवधानम्। गुरुचरणाम्बुजनिर्भरभक्तः संसारादचिराद्भवमुक्तः। सेन्द्रियमानसनियमादेवं द्रक्ष्यसि निजहृदयस्थं देवम्।
Verse 19 talked about how the fixation of thought must be on Brahman, irrespective of whether you are in spiritual path or whether you are in normal material life, so-called material life. What really matters is where your thought is placed. Whether you are in a solitude or whether you are in a company, whether you are in society or out of society. All that matters is how much are we able to place the mind on God. That makes us really happy. Yasya Brahmani Ramate Chittam Nandati Nandati Nandatyeva. Of course, it is talking about at the highest level, but we can tone it down to our level that in and through all our activities, how we are able to pursue this at the back of the mind, how we keep this pursuit and then involve ourselves in any activity. To that extent, you remain elevated. See, there are people who pursue the world in a normal, general way. It is not that they are atheist or they don't have belief in God. They do pujas, they go to temples, but their primary pursuit is the pursuit of the world, which is acquisition and enjoyment, wealth. This is what they are chiefly involved in. But they also want to get associated with spirituality. They may attend a class like this, they may go to a satsang, or they may do some sort of a bhakti oriented activity. Something they will do once a week, they may do once a month, they may go to a pilgrimage or something like that. Definitely, to that extent, it will help. But what we have to understand when it comes to practicing spirituality is that it is not to be understood only at a part-time practice. It is not to be done as one more thing that we are supposed to do. I have to, let us say, get the children ready, I have to go to office, I have to earn money, I have to cook, eat, and also I have to pray. This is what most people do, but this is in a very, very starting stage, we can say. What is the aim or purpose of spirituality, or what the rishis have told us is, this is the only purpose for you in life. This is the main business of life that we are given a human birth for. An animal or a plant lives its life as it is ordained for it. There is no way for it to deviate here or there. And it lives a life and dies. A human being is given this birth and with the intellect to think, only to gain this knowledge of the self and understand what is real purpose of life is. Once a person deeply understands this, he understands the hollowness of the worldly pursuit and understands that whatever happiness that he is supposed to derive from it, which is not there. And whatever more, when we say people only talk about the enjoyments of this world, not only that, enjoyment of the other worlds also, which is given in our Shastras or which you can imagine in terms of Swarga, even in, in the Islamic belief system, many people even commit heinous crimes like even jihad and other. They even sort of kill themselves in suicide bombing and others, but they are prompted by what has been taught to them, which is the enjoyment in the other world. They call it a Jannat and whatever they enjoy there. What is the difference between this enjoyment here in the world and that enjoyment in the other world? Is only a difference in degree. You may have a X amount of enjoyment here, there it will be 100x amount of enjoyment. But the focus is enjoyment that we derive out of some contact bond pleasure, either here or hereafter. Once a person understands the hollowness of such a pursuit, even you give the seventh heaven, that we don't know how much heaven they talk about. In our scriptures, they talk about 7 heavens. One each and every heaven is, much offering higher pleasure than the earlier one. So all the 7 heavens put together, whatever be the enjoyment that it can provide, you understand still it is coming from somewhere outside me, and this is not what it is, because it is subject to deterioration, it is subject to a beginning and an end. But I am in need of something more permanent, and where is it? If this sort of understanding comes, only then that person turns to spirituality in a full way. So he understands the life that is given to us as a human being is meant for this pursuit. The pursuit for happiness is same for the all. Even indirectly, a person who chases a money or woman or a party, he is also chasing happiness. That you cannot deny. But when the understanding comes that the chasing of these is like chasing a shadow, which you will never get a real happiness, and you understand the real happiness, the source of which is somewhere inside, and then you want to pursue a path towards that, then you can say that person has turned into spiritual path. It is a tough phase when you are making that U-turn. We do not know. We cannot give a time frame for it, whether it's 1 week or 1 month or 1 year or few years. We do not know. But once you do that and set yourself in the path, it is only a matter of time before you are going to reach the destination. Again, we need not be result oriented, whether it is going to happen in this lifetime or next lifetime. That is not the point. But once you set yourself in the path itself, the real quality of enjoyment or happiness that we go through in our lives, it takes a very high percentage. It is not only the infinite pleasure that we gain out of self-realization, that is obviously the highest, that alone we are not talking. A person who is pursuing this path diligently, he is going to have his mind in a very calm and serene state, and he is going to enjoy this world irrespective of whatever position he is materially placed, irrespective of how his family members behave, what his office situation is, what the bank balance is. There will be a calmness, there will be a happiness that he will be able to experience. This is what the Upanishad says. A person who is in the pursuit of the self, renouncing his worldly desires, he is going to derive the same pleasure that a person who aspires to get in the heaven. And then whatever you are going to gain further also, it is going to be more than that. All that is, we are talking in a state which is before realization. Realization is a different kind altogether. That is called as ananda, that is called as bliss, if you want to call in English. That is a different kind altogether. But even as we are experiencing the happiness here, when we say experience, it is experienceable by your mind. Mind has that experience. That itself will be of a different level as you pursue the spiritual path. Now, the difference between this person and that person is, this person, for him, the main pursuit is the world, and he also does some spiritual activity. For him, it will be definitely adding to his general equanimity or pleasure that he is doing. But remember, once a person starts pursuing the spiritual path, understanding the hollowness of the pursuit, if he wants to little bit go into the world and try to derive happiness there, it will be a disaster. Whatever you have been convinced about, whatever your deep conviction is about, based on which when you start the spiritual path, it has to be, there is no way turning back. It is like you are set in the path. So I will do 90% this and 10% only, let me earn little more money. We are not talking about per se earning money or going through the motions of life with the attitude or intention of deriving pleasure out of it. If you place reality in money, if you place reality in family, if you place reality in any sort of enjoyment and try to derive pleasure out of it, that will be a disaster. So therefore, understanding of this is that a person who is convinced about this path, that it is within himself, that pleasure that he is seeking is within himself, he is pursuing what is known as this Atma Vidya or Brahma Vidya. So that person, when he is doing like that, a portion of his personality is always attached to the thought of Brahman. So he says that person always is in Ananda. He is Nandati. Nandati means he is in a happy state all the time, irrespective of how he is placed externally in the world. Then verse 20, what we covered in the last class, says that what is the path to reach it? So it is indicative of Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, and Jnana Yoga. We said we can take it symbolically like that, or literally also you can take it. And then he says, Kriyate tasya yame na charcha. He does not have any quarrel with Yama. That means even if we are able to practice little bit of spirituality, little bit of this karma yoga, bhakti yoga, jnana yoga, it will make you cross over the greatest fear to the extent that you will not be even afraid of death. He is not talking about again an enlightened person, even a person who practices a little. That is the effect. So, a person ultimately becomes changeless, but along the way also he becomes more and more fearless. Verse 19 and 20 gives this. Next verse 21 says, if you don't follow this path, what happens? We'll chant verse 21 twice.
Punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam, punarapi janani jathare shayanam. Iha samsare bahudustare, kripaya pare pahi murare. Punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam, punarapi janani jathare shayanam. Iha samsare bahudustare, kripaya pare pahi murare.
Repeated birth, repeated death, repeated lying in mother's womb. This samsara, terrestrial entanglement, is unending, difficult to cross over. O Murari, save through your grace. Again a famous oft-quoted verse. Here there is a indication of theory of reincarnation. It is accepted and spelled out here. We call it a theory because theory is something which is scientific but cannot be proved. Unlike a law which can be proved. We say law of gravitation, that is a law. You can experiment and prove it and find out the value of what is the acceleration due to gravity. Similarly, there are various laws in the science. There are various laws pertaining to our mind also, which is all provable. But theory is also as scientific. You try to deduce a beautiful conclusion based on the data, but ultimately it is only a projection and not a conclusive evidence given proof. Though in the modern way, psychologists and psychiatrists, they are trying to prove this also. What is that famous book which revolutionized Many Master, Many Lives, right? There is a book which talked about the conversation of a patient and the doctor. This doctor was giving treatments, and in the hypnotic state they used to record whatever the patient is speaking, and the doctor's experience with many patients sort of gave a glimpse into the idea of reincarnation for the doctor. The doctor probably came from a Christian background where the indoctrination of one life alone was given to him or her, I don't know. And then what happened is when this sort of a revelation came again and again, the whole thought process was shaken. And therefore, I think the doctor wrote this book, Many Master, Many Lives. They were all talking about in which Janma, who was their relative and how they were connected. Like that it was there. So again, you can argue whether it is a conclusive proof or not. But any scientific minded person will not reject the theory of reincarnation. Nobody, let's say, for sure can say that there is a life after death. Nobody also can say that there is no life after death. So we don't know is the real stance. But when we go into the scriptures, there are very many authoritative statements which directly talk about the theory of reincarnation. Even in Bhagavad Gita it comes. All the Indic faiths like Buddhism, Jainism also, of course our Hinduism, they all accept the law of karma, and based on the law of karma that there is reincarnation also. So it is for you to intelligently come to a conclusion, but when you think, you will sort of come to that conclusion, yes, there is life after death. Now what is the principle behind this. You can think in terms of how you move from one experience to another experience within this Janma. What drives you is that your next set of powerful desire drives you. You have come to this class means your body cannot come by itself. It has been driven by a desire. From here, where you will go means wherever your next set of desires will take you, there you will go. It could be a restaurant, it could be your home, it could be a theater, wherever you go, based on your powerful set of desires. So what is understandable here is, whenever energy is in the form of desires within you, there is always a potential energy which is waiting to be released as a kinetic energy, which is going to make you move. So at the end of the lifetime, if there are still unfinished desires, unfulfilled desires, which are in the form of energy, they will tend to push you. And that pushing is not happening in this body, because this body has fallen flat and dead. So how does it then happen? Then we come to a conclusion that the desires find form in a new body, and therefore that person, that jiva, that individual begins his journey, only he has changed the body. Just as we change the cloth, he has changed. That time he has changed, cast off this body and put on the next body, and he goes. This is a very scientific and easy understanding of how this functions. That is, of course, that is not the subject here. The subject here is why does this happen? He again captures by the word samsara. Samsara is a recurring theme in Bhaja Govindam, we have seen, just as the way out of it, satsang is also there. Samsara is a term which has no equivalent English translation. Samsara is used sometimes in the terms of family. Samsara is used in terms of world. Samsara, what it means is that which entangles you or binds you because of your unintelligent relationship. So a person can get into samsara even though he may not be married, if he is unintelligently developing relationship in any field of activity. It can be politics, can be your samsara. Your office can be your samsara. Sports can be your samsara. Or anything that you create. A person can leave everything, build an ashram, and that can be a samsara also. Samsara is where you go into it without the knowledge of how deep you are getting into it, but by the time you realize, you are already caught. Caught means what? It gives you so much of it doesn't give you space to move. It gives so much of binding to you that you are bound by it and forced to act along those lines. Meaning your time and your energy is not in your control, as it were, which you have willingly allowed to happen. There are certain things based on our desires, you may say it necessary at any point of time. So you need to contact the world, maybe marriage, maybe taking up a job, whatever it is. But if we are not careful in any of these relationships, each of this can drag us and pull us down to such an extent where you say, no, I want to, let's say, do this course. I want to do something, what you really want to pursue in terms of your passion. But there is absolutely no time. There is absolutely no energy. Because every other thing and all the things you will be doing in the name of duty, all the things in the name of obligation, that is how it will go. So this terrestrial entanglement is called as samsara. Samsara is compared to generally two metaphors in the Shastras. One is a forest, another is ocean. More or less both are same parallels. Forest is very enchanting in the beginning as you enter. It gives nice smell of the flowers there and the chirping of the insects and birds and cool breeze, so you enter into it. But the moment you enter deep, you do not know which side to get out now. It's a dense forest, and not only that, it gives snakes also and other poisonous insects that are there. Thorns are there, shrub is there, wild animals are there. So it provides actually both, but the attraction is from one side and you enter into it. This is the moment you enter into it and you do not know how to get out of it. That is the time we realize, my God, what a deep thing that I have got into. So usually the realization in samsara comes very late. It is like that lotus thing only. It's very nice in the top of the pond, but the stems of the lotus, it is entangled. So you go near it, you may get entangled in the pond. You may not be able to extricate out of it. Like that is the ocean. very nice to approach. You can stand in the waves, but you do not know how deep it is. So, and it is difficult to cross over and go to the other side. So that is called as samsara. Now, the moment a person is born, when you say in this lifetime, we know he is in samsara, and this samsara has been continuing because of our past karma. So when you talk about, he is talking about next janma, that means this janma was the next janma of the previous birth. So since unfinished desires were there, we are supposed to take birth now. So this seems to unendingly it seems to continue. We are born with some desires, we try to exhaust them. In the process, we pick up certain other desires that will force us into some other thing, that will force into some other thing. So it seems to be in a circle that we are caught up in. That's why he says punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam, punarapi janani jatare shayanam. Repeated lying in mother's womb again and again. When do we realize this? Actually, unless otherwise it chokes us, we don't realize. Very intelligent people, wise people or jnanis, probably they realize it in the womb itself or in the birth itself. In one theory, of course, it is again a theory, but it is a nice way of educating. It is said that when a person is lying in the womb, those 9 months or 10 months that he is there, at that time, that individual is actually gaining the full knowledge, or rather the awareness of the self-knowledge. Because that period of 9 to 10 months that you go through in the womb is supposed to be the highest form of hell in one way. There is one hell after, like heaven, you also have 7 types of hell downwards. One hell worse than the other. After you go through all those things, where do you finally go? Is the greater hell. What is a greater hell than that? Coming back to the mother's womb and waiting for birth in this world. How is that a greater hell? Imagine this. We saw in the Ishavasya Upanishad, Andam Tamah Pravishan. No, sorry. The third verse. Asurya Namate Loka Andena Tamasavrataha. A sunless world. He talks about a sunless world. Tamasavrataha, enveloped by darkness. These are all the pictures given of the hell. So imagine you being in the darkness all the time. That's exactly what the womb is. There is absolutely no light at all, and you are there, and it is not an easy phase for the child there. It is going through heat of being inside. Whatever mother eats or whatever the mother experience she goes through, that the child has to go through without any choice. One side is all flesh, one side is all the waste that are all there. It is there in between. And like this, it is lying for months. So at that point of time, a really jnana comes to that entity which is lying there as to why am I still being here? Why did I not realize the self? Why did I choose to be born again? This sort of a wisdom comes to that child. So it says at that point of time, no more birth. This is the last. No more birth. Please, this is enough. But what happens is, when the child comes out of the womb, there is a vayu or air which is called a shata. The shata vayu sort of dilutes the child again, and it starts crying, and it starts behaving like whatever we are behaving, and it gets entangled in the worldly relationship again. So that air is set to dilute and make the child forget the wisdom that it gained in the womb. That vayu is called a shata, I said. Therefore, there is a term for Vishnu in Sanskrit called as Shatakopa. Shatakopa. Nammalvar original name is called Shatakopa. In Tamil, since Sha sound is not there, they say Shatakopan, they say. What it means is, when he is coming out of that womb, he is angry on the air. He says, don't delude me. I want to be in this state only. When he was born, it is said that 16 years he did not move here or there at all, stayed in one place. under a tamarind tree. He was a born jnani. His name is also very apt. So shata is a air which deludes you, and a person who is not wanting to be born again, he is angry about that air being covering him. So he is called as shatakopa. So coming back here, so repeated lying in mother's womb is not a very, very pleasant or happy experience as far as jnanis are concerned. As far as a person who is wanting to relieve himself of the cycle of birth and death, the greatest boon, if at all, he will ask God if he appears before him, is that just unentangle me. I don't want to get into the samsara again and again. Now, the question is, who put us into the samsara? You can trace to previous birth, but there is no way that you are going to find out where your original karma started or what is your original vasana or original desire. You are never going to find. Bhagavad Gita very clearly says, Prakritim Purusham Chaiva Vidhi Anadi Upavapi. Both are beginningless, as it were. You cannot find out the beginning at all. But what is clear is, whether it is beginningless or not, now we are seemingly bound, that is clear. Now we are in this entanglement, that is clear. So instead of trying to find out when and how we got caught, we should, you can try and inquire for a while. After that you understand, how should I get rid of this as quickly as possible? If a snake is there encircling your leg, you have to first try and get rid of the snake as quickly as possible instead of trying to find out how the snake came. The snake will not wait. It is going to, bite you. Like that it is. Having realized the very few are there in the percentage of people in the world who realize the grip of samsara. If you understand even a glimpse of it, try to create that awareness more, and then your thought forces must be focused towards how will I get out of this samsara. For that, the formula is given here. Since you have not come into the samsara of your own effort, finally getting out of this is also not in your own effort. That does not mean we are going to stop effort, but understand all the effort that we are going to put in is to finally culminate in that absolute surrender to that Supreme Self who is beyond the samsara. If you are there in the ocean struggling, you call for help, a boat will come, a boat is going to make you cross from this shore to that shore, but the person who is not struggling, who is above the boat, only he can save you, not another person who is also struggling along with you. Therefore, the surrender must be to that person who is not in samsara. Who is that? That is called as the Supreme Self or the God or whatever you want to call it, by whatever name, Ishvara, Bhagavan, whatever it is. That is indicated here as Murari. Murari is another name of Lord Krishna. And he says, by your grace, please protect me. This samsara is unending and difficult to cross over. Actually, what is required for us is this realization. And it really will not come by the studying of the scripture or attending a class like this. Sometime it has to deeply strike us as to what really am I doing? What am I doing in this world? What have I come for and what I'm actually doing? Even in our own normal day-to-day lives, you can watch this. Suppose you set out on a journey. A person comes to India to visit, as a tourist, to visit, let us say, monuments or forts. That is his area of interest. So a plan is given. A plan is given to him as to how he should go. The people in Bombay are asking him how much you have to spend, how much time you have to spend, how much money you have to spend, based on which they give a program. 30 days, so much rupees, this is the route you go, like that. The first, and he has a general idea then throughout India how to go and what is to see. He can go to some places in Karnataka and Tamil Nadu and Odisha and Bengal and other places in Uttar Pradesh. He can see, and finish 30th day, he is there in the hotel in Bombay from where he can go. He has whatever purpose he has come for, that purpose is solved. First trip when he is going to Bombay to Pune, somebody says, hey, have you visited Karla Caves here? It is very important and very exciting. It could be also. So he immediately deviates from the journey, gets out there, and he is thoroughly watching, and he is now very great expert on, let us say, the carvings in the Karla caves. But what has happened? He has missed the whole journey, whereby he will get the overall picture of what he has come for. This is what he started the journey. And in between, due to certain pressures, due to certain addiction or whatever it is, he has missed the complete picture. This we do in our day-to-day life. It can be something like this, that you go to a place. It can be like in our field also. You go to a place, you take up class to start to teach, read. That is what it is. For which what can happen? Starting a trust could be a necessary thing, or it could be, meeting that we have, or various things. Then what happens? Day in and day out, we are doing meetings, we are doing receipts, we are doing appeals, we are doing letterhead and various things. So where is the time that you have got to do originally what you are supposed to do? So that awareness has to come. Once that, and how will that awareness come? He says only by Murari's grace, by Guru's grace otherwise. That is why a true Guru can be judged this way. You cannot judge him, but I am saying, a true Guru is not one who gives you all the knowledge. He will give the knowledge, no doubt. And that is his expertise. But a real Guru is one who is able to create that awareness that you are bound. Who is able to create that awareness that you are caught up in that samsara. Because once you know that you are caught up, you yourself will attempt to get out of it. So a true Guru is always connected with your awareness rather than your intellect. So here he says, "Oh Murari, please save me through your grace." Murari is Lord Krishna, Vishnu. Same verse in another way comes in chapter 7 of Bhagavad Gita. Mama Maya Duratyaya, he says. Mama Maya Duratyaya means my Maya is very difficult to cross over. Somebody claims it is my Maya. We are caught up in the Maya. We are bound by the Maya. Though associated, that person is not caught up in the Maya. And therefore he says in the next verse, in the next line, Mameva ye prapadyante mayametam tarantite. One who surrenders to me alone, they alone can cross over this Maya of mine. So therefore, at one point of time, all our intellect, all our strength, everything falls flat and you say, I can't, please save me through your grace, please help me. This is the aspect of surrender. And when a person is neck deep in samsara, there is no other choice. At that point, there is no other choice. You see the story of Gajendra. That is one of the key lessons there, where the elephant thought that it can take care of the crocodile by its own strength, and the struggle was going on for years together. A time came where the crocodile was going to pull it. At that point of time, it forgot everything, and absolute surrender to Lord Vishnu was there. Draupadi's episode is another great example of this. We have discussed that before, that when she was trying to hold on, which is natural, with her own strength that could not match the strength of Dushasana. But the moment she surrendered herself completely, the infinite strength she got. And Dushasana could not match that. Obviously, the finite can never untie the infinite. So when you are in deep trouble, what really prevents us from surrender is our own ego. They don't go together. That's all. Ego is indirectly proportional or inversely proportional to surrender. The moment you say, I know, I can take care, I will do it, God hands over the keys to you. Yeah, you drive. That's all it is. The moment you say, your will be done, you take care, it will be done. That's all it is. It is as simple as that. But you have to cross over that strong ego that stands as this thing. Otherwise, what will happen? Will you let us down? No. You will continue. Then what will happen is a time will come where you will be taught the lesson in the hard way. That's about all. When a point comes where your ego has to bend down, it will bend down. At bayonet's point, you will. So all the knowledge that we learn here through the intellect is to ultimately gain this surrender only. Mind, intellect, ego, everything finally falls flat. This is the symbolism of prostrating to a guru or prostrating to elders. What he is standing on is his foundation, which is the self. Your head and heart are in the same line at the feet of the Guru. What it means? That you have completely surrendered your whole personality to that self. Only surrender can save such a person. That's what he says here. So, the key takeaway in this verse is awareness. It is the awareness that is very important. Yeah.
The womb of a mother is described as a black or dark or other thing in a sort of a darkness type of thing. But considering from the point of view of the soul or the jiva who is inside, he still got a remnants or the memory of the highest wisdom. Okay, so it is like somebody staying in a 5-star hotel or a big palace with bright sunshine, or a hermitage person staying in a small hut with not much light. His condition is better because he's got a better wisdom, and we say that intellectual joy is more than emotional joys and other things. So why is such this?
No. The moment you are realize that you are the self, there is no birth at all. What it means is he is aware that he is an individual only. Therefore, that individual, when it goes through a restricted, constricted space within the mother's womb, that his original nature is to be free. His original nature is never to be bound. That understanding comes now that I am bound, like a butterfly which is supposed to fly, it is there in the cocoon. So that realization comes. It is to be, again, philosophically or symbolically taken. Now, if you go into the analysis of whether the brain is there, whether the child is thinking, that is not the point here. It has to be understood from a philosophical level.
A little extent of it. When he has that wisdom, which is wisdom or maybe that a better knowledge, then when he comes out, then the power of this the samsara is more than what his intellectual does have, because it is deluded. If I try to cheat you and you got a better wisdom or knowledge, I cannot cheat you in the sense that you take a doctor or something and you say no, I don't want it. Now here the power of the samsara is more. That is why the power of samsara captures him and puts him back in there. Is there anything like something which can be done to change this process?
Not getting into the womb is the process actually. See, the idea is that you have got into the womb means, see, look at it from the point of view of what Vedanta says. Karma is there, therefore you are born, you will finish your karma. All those things are there. This episode or this particular symbolism is only from philosophical point of view. So that is why the jnanis, when they pray, their only prayer is that I don't want any birth. Whether it be bhakta or jnani, whoever it is, their prayer is like that only. But the moment any residual karma is there, you yourself are forcing yourself into this. So you have a choice to write the contract. But having signed the contract, you are bound by the terms of the contract. That is the contract that person has already signed.
Sir.
Yes.
Sir, on the previous words, you're talking about if a person is first got into spirituality and then looking for pleasure in the world, then that's a disaster. Now, when we talk about a grihastha ashram, okay, so in grihastha also you could be pursuing spirituality, like some of us are trying to make an effort. Now, we are going through, our process and trying to make a further movement. But we are always looking for pleasure or happiness. I would interchange the word, or avoid unhappiness. That is our process for all our actions, what we are doing. Now, we also know that in a grihastha ashram, you can also, attain self-realization. Some masters have shown that. So how do we, there is a degree in the process, there is a movement in that, right? So will it not be a slow, gradual giving up of seeking of pleasure, What I'm trying to just say is that you said that it is a disaster.
Yeah, see, the thing is, you analyze your own question. You said either courting pleasure or avoiding displeasure. There's a world of difference as far as this pursuit is concerned. See, what we are saying is, if a person who has understood the hollowness of the pursuit of the world and he is pursuing the spirituality, self within, okay, then If he is going to the world with the idea of deriving pleasure out of it, that is a disaster. That's what we said. Now you are saying all of us try to avoid sorrow. That is correct. I mean, but how do you try to avoid sorrow? Only by seeking the self properly or whatever it is. So whether you are in a grihastha ashrama or sannyasa ashrama or any ashrama, whether you are in society or anywhere, what it means is you have aligned your activities in the form of a duty orientation by which you are going towards the higher states of consciousness. That is meant by spirituality. So that even then you may not be fully grown out of samsara, or you may still be caught up in certain things, you may face problems and other things, and yet you will be able to withstand and go through it with a greater inner serenity than before because of the attitude of your pursuit. Here there is nothing that we are talking about that you will suddenly leave all this and pursue the world independently, divorced from this. We are not talking about that. If that is there, only then we said it's a disaster. In the sense, if a person is, you are doing your grihastha duties and you are doing your business duties, all that is because in the spirit of karma yoga that it is taking towards the thing, that is the right approach. I am saying that is spirituality only. But if you are going to place reality in the money aspect or relations aspect and say, by pursuing this, I am going to be happy, divorce from the self, that will be a disaster. That applies for all, but particularly for a person who has understood and convinced about the hollowness of that pursuit, but by temptations or by previous vasana or whatever it is, he is drawn towards that, he has to fend for himself.
So, in relation to this point about having understood, now, our knowledge being at 3 levels of, crossing the path of I don't understand, okay, but the second level is that I don't
know, I don't understand.
I don't understand. Now, there is a gap between I don't understand and I don't experience also. So you are saying that the first step when I don't know and I'm trying to understand. Okay. Now, till that point, if I am still living in the world and living with the pleasure in the world, it still not a disaster. But having understood, if I go for seeking pleasures, then it's a disaster.
Correct. So the thing is, there is always a time gap between even Shravana and Manana also. Okay. Now imagine even a person who is attending classes here or doing his own self-study for quite a number of years. That is why these classes will be always having not big numbers. Because one is the subtlety of the subject, another is a person who is deeply into sadhana or wanting to at least gain some growth. Only that person will be consistently there. Because if somebody comes out of curiosity or somebody comes out only for the sake of a different pleasure at the intellect's level, let me study Upanishad for some time, or let me do Kriya for some time, let me do Satya Sai Baba something for some. That is only like shopping. You are shopping spirituality at a different level. A person who is consistent, that consistency comes out of certain level of conviction inside that this is what it is. Yet there may be lot of negativities and other things to conquer inside. Ego may still to be tamed. That's all fine. But you are able to convince yourself at the intellectual level at least that this is what it is. You may not be still fully able to grasp the subtle concepts. That may be also not the case. But you are convinced as to this is what the pursuit is. This is where the true happiness is. This is why I am given the human life. For such a person, the further and further effort must be to go in that direction only. Now, if it becomes too much at a point for you, let us say, for example, it is shown in Sita's life in Ramayana that she was undergoing tapas in Ashokavana after she had just slipped for a while, which is the pursuit of the golden deer. The symbolism is that you pursue the world, forgetting Rama. That is the symbolism there. For Rama is the self and golden deer is the material pursuit. So, it is said that you are locked by your own senses you become a captive of ego, which is Ravana. There, what to do? The separation is there. Now you have to unite. Therefore, you pursue by tapas. So Sita was doing tapas. Now, from a normal sadhaka point of view, if you see, forgetting Rama and Sita to be, the Lord of the universe and the goddess herself, she was contemplating suicide at one point of time because it became a very desperate situation for her. Whether Lord will come or not, she didn't know. Whether Rama knows or not, she didn't know. Whether she was here or that news, whether Rama knows or not, she didn't know. So that desperation came where she was contemplating suicide, and that is where the answer comes in the form of Hanuman. He was there at that point of time. Now, for some reason or the other, we do not go into the reason or the past karma or anything of it. You are undergoing tremendous pressure or depression and other thing. That type of situation may cause you depressed, may cause you certain problems within you. Now that will not make you, therefore you will say, I will leave everything, let me lead asuric life from now on. It won't happen like that. You understand? The mind of a sadhaka, how it will function, I am saying. This happened even in Kali Yuga to Bhadrachala Ramadas. Bhadrachala Ramadas was a great saint from Andhra. He was serving under a Muslim ruler, and his duty was to collect the taxes. He collected the taxes, and with that money he built a great temple for Rama. He himself was a rich person, and he gave away everything, and then he had to take up a job, and this job was given to him by one of his connections, and that king had given him this post, and with this post he collected money from everybody, and he built a great temple for Rama. Nothing personal about it, but he did it. And the king later came to know, and he was jailed. In that jail only, with that all the pain, whatever kirtana he wrote, that stands till today. Lot of, I think they say about 10,000 songs, some number of songs in Telugu he wrote. There are two Ramadas who are very famous. Samartha Ramadas, who is Shivaji Maharaj's guru, and Bhadrachalam Ramadas. This is, and then what happens? It became very torturous for him in the jail. Lord Rama was there. Since Lord Rama was a very principled, he expected his devotees also to be principled only. Later Sita only comes to rescue us. Rama says, wealth is your department, realization is my department, you take care of it. So what happens finally? It is two boys in that is Rama and Lakshmana. They come to Bacha and give him the money and finally release him. But in the jail, that the long time that he spent, he undergoes a tremendous pressure. But at no point of time that will reduce his faith in Rama or the pursuit or the whatever he is doing, but he also contemplates suicide to that extent. It is, see, those who, it is very easy to ask. After all, he was a bhakta. Does he not know? We can ask sitting in our comforts, not even knowing what sadhana is. But you have to put him in his shoes and then understand what it is. Like, just as in the freedom fight, people talk about very lightly about Savarkar. A great hero he was. And he was, I mean, this is not the subject and we don't intend to deviate, but since it's the thought, I'll say, we always read about Mahatma Gandhi and Nehru as the great freedom fighters, and Savarkar, most people don't know. Thanks to social media and other things, people are getting awareness. No doubt, Gandhiji and Nehru also went through jail, and but you know that Nehru wrote his book in the jail. That sort of a comfort jail it was given where he can nicely write books. I'm not, again, demeaning his patriotism and anything. That is a different aspect. Savarkar, what he underwent in Andaman jail, Kalapani, is something that you need to be there to understand what it is, without any light, for in a solitary confinement for years together. Yet his spirit could not be broken. And finally, he had to write an intelligent letter to the British to get himself released. And I mean, Savarkar was somebody who inspired many, many freedom fighters. Why I'm saying is, there is always, At that point of time, when you're driven to that desperation, you will have to, but at no point of time his nationality or patriotism that takes a beating. So what happens, what I'm trying to come at is, if you are convinced about the path, if you are convinced about your pursuit, that self is what it is, and I'm given human birth only for this, and by Guru's grace or by satsang or whatever it is, I've come into it. So it is like a one-way journey. It has no turning back and going. That is what it is usually is. But if that person, because we have seen also spiritual people also falling down, also it happens. Why does it happen? It happens when you are, let us say, comparing yourself with, let's say, your friend who is also a good person. He is doing his business. What he does on Deepavali day or some other day, he will do his puja. He will daily, invest some time in the priest or somebody who will come and do his puja in his room. He is also a believer. You will see him maybe planning his holidays and gaining money, and he's generally okay. So if you compare, let us say he is getting each and every new model of car, each and everything that he is finally getting and going, where you are stuck up to your own level, then that will play in your mind. Let us say, I am pursuing this and he is not doing that. Why am I like this? This must be very clearly convinced that if your Shraddha and sincerity is pursuing wealth, that will be given to you. If your Shraddha and sincerity is pursuing the real happiness, that will be given to you. Along the path also, it is going to be there in stages coming to you. But if you don't have Shraddha and faith in it and you are going to pursue that, that is where I said the disaster will be there. For a person who has never turned to spiritual path, that's okay for him because he is in the path of slowly coming up. But you having tasted something higher and you are now going for lower and trying to taste that, you will be neither here nor there. It will be a very, agitated state of mind that you will go through. So you have to be very careful that, so when we talk about Shravana and Manana, through Manana, when you get intellectually convinced about it, irrespective of whatever time it takes for you to get established, you will still pursue it. That's about all. And whatever is required for you at that level, whatever is provided, it's the grace of God.
So, in case of Sita, obviously she is at such a high level that for her to want a Swarna deer is something, and then she's going through that tapas. Now, coming to your previous lecture about tapas, how we dissipate our tapas from time to time also. In our levels, we are dissipating our little tapas on a daily basis almost. That is our challenge.
No, first of all, to dissipate, there must be tapas. That itself is a very big question. So no, don't connect that. So see, now I'm giving an example of Sita to make you understand only that a person can be in that spiritual path, but they will not deviate into pursuing material pleasures. That's all I'm saying. That is the point of thing that you must learn from that episode. Yes, sir.
Some saints in our history we have seen, they never ask for mukti, liberation.
Like
they told like that in so many ways that always I should be take one to serve the Lord like that.
Whatever that can be, that is their mukti. Because mukti is understood as serving the Lord in certain schools of philosophy, like that.
Service.
But that is, everybody wants liberation only. There's no saint who will not want liberation. That's why I asked, who is that saying like that? I really want.
Name,
Huh?
there is a Narada. Narada is always serving.
Narada is a Brahma Rishi himself. He is not wanting liberation because he is already liberated. That's about all. Meaning, you can take it that way. They are all enlightened if you want to understand it that way. Any person worth the name, the pursuit, they will want that. See, you can even say some of the spiritually evolved soul, they may say, I want to be born again in India and serve the poor and serve the thing. That is all there. But when we are talking about the depth of the understanding or awareness that comes, they seek only liberation, which has nothing selfish about it. It is that some may continue to serve the country or the cause, that is, some may be doing something in the Himalayas, but each and everybody understands the depth of that requirement, that pursuit. So nobody is exempt. Anybody worth the name. If anybody says, no, I want to serve the poor only, or I want to build hospitals, and that is what that person, okay, he is having an elevated thought or a good or noble thought. You cannot put him in the level of a mumukshu. Mumukshu is somebody who has a burning desire for liberation. They are two different things.
Rabindranath Tagore also told in so many poems that mukti, what we call mukti, liberation, he does not say like that.
He may not say like that, but probably whatever is the spirit inside, we have to see. Again, we are not to comment about Rabindranath Tagore or anybody. Again, why are you bringing in people here? You have to understand the concept as it is. We may not be able to know what it is to, rather, suppose you talk about Mahatma Gandhi here, you may have a different understanding of him, I may have a different understanding of him, but we cannot take him as a ideal in the pursuit that we are doing and having a discussion about it as it is. Yes.
So you said that once you're in the spiritual path, your happiness becomes sweeter or higher. Do you see this in your life? Have you seen this in your life?
To the extent that I have been in the spiritual path, yes.
Yes,
It has been. There's no. And one thing very easily we can say is that the period that we are in the academy, in general, why I'm saying is we are dedicated that time for spirituality. That could be a temporary phase also, you can say, but it happens either temporarily or permanently. The science is the same. If you are cut off from the world even temporarily and you are genuinely pursuing, if I look back, probably those 3 years were the best period of my life so far. And even in any other time, even when your thoughts are inspired for a month or for a week or for a year, for whatever you are pursuing at that point of time, it is definitely at that point of time at a very elevated state than the other times where we are caught up in things.
it should be permanent.
No, it should be permanent, but that is again, see, because of the past vasanas, there will be a slip. In the sense, the past force and past vasanas which we are fighting and struggling to get over, there will be a constant pull from that side. Your thought of the self and inspired thing is trying to pull you from the up, or rather you are trying to push it up. So there is a constant struggle there. To the extent that this becomes a majority even for a point of time and it is pulling you this side, that time is probably you will feel it actually. So you can take it from an overall point of view also. So let's say you can talk about a person, or let's say if what is the movement of a dollar against a rupee, okay, from 1960 onwards till 90, let's say the dollar is rising, but in between there can be, if you say 1 month or so, there will be fall, but overall, see, from 7 rupees it would have gone to 70 rupees or something. There's a rise. So there will be a phase, but that phase can be going up and down, but overall it will be like that. Similarly, a batsman's career, you take Kohli's career or Bradman's career or Tendulkar's career, you will find them consistently averaging 50, 55 plus in all. But there could be 1 year phase where their average is less than 25 or something. But at that point of time, they'll go through a very crisis in the career. But overall, they're okay in the career. Like that it is. And what will happen is, whenever there is a stagnation, that is why Swamiji constantly now harps on the point of complacency. When at any point of time you feel this complacency factor setting into your system, at some level of happiness is there, some level of material comfort is there, meaning, so inspiration probably that was there 10 years back, if it is not there, then what will happen is at this own level there will be some sort of stagnation or a pull where you feel agitated. This is where Swamiji attacks particularly the alumni and the students, that in the path never get complacent. Don't think that I have achieved certain thing. There must be this constant thirst. There may be this constant urge and the sense of dissatisfaction. Positively, I am saying that you have to reach it. So keep that going, but feel contented at the material level. If you are okay with your generally whatever you have got, feel very happy about it. But at the spiritual level, keep that constantly going. So as a principle, it applies to all. It has applied to me so far, if I'm able to read my experiences.
I think the happiness and everything gets better, but in the middle there must be...
There can be certain slumps. It is possible.
Sir, sorry, just to continue on the topic of Mukti Bhavana. I recently read about this somewhere else also. So there is a difference in the thought process of a Mukti Bhavana for, let us say, a Buddha or a Mahavira or a Krishna. For example, Krishna feels completely liberated. He doesn't feel the need to get liberated. He's in that state continuously. And presumably even a Buddha or a Mahavira, at a certain stage in life, they achieved that state of... but, there is a subtle challenge in trying to... See, on one hand, we are saying that to realize the self. If I realize the self, then I am free. Let us say sitting over here, any of us, if we can get into that state of self-realization, then there is no need to feel free. Wanting to get free is sort of there is a negative approach in that, isn't there?
Well, there's nothing negative about it. I cannot answer really the thoughts of Rajneesh. He is a master, only he can answer. I know where this question is coming from. So the thing is, Krishna, that's why we say is an avatara and a Purna avatara who is realized from the beginning. Lord Buddha led a very great Hindu life and he saw the suffering and he wanted to get enlightened. We also consider him as avatara only. So the point is, if you are, let us say, not liberated, you yearn for liberation. What is negative about it? It is a very positive trait. It's a very positive trait. That I want, that I am bound, that I want to get liberated. Never get into the thought that that's a negative trait. And the point is, why do you want to compare Krishna and Buddha in the first place? Buddha is enlightened and helping the world and universe in his own way. Krishna is doing in his own way. There, I think, ends the thing. Why do we want to compare Mahavira, Buddha and Krishna here?
No, it's a thought of liberation. How to, just approaching that thought of liberation, we can get lost. We could attach a sort of a negative connotation to the life that we are living. What I'm trying to say, that
nothing. What you tell me? What is the negativity about it?
See, on one hand, we are saying that we should be happy as we are, right?
That is why I said a positive dissatisfaction if you have. A positive dissatisfaction if you have, that will urge you. That doesn't mean you are depressed all the time. See, we see in the life of a great saint also that he is waiting. Ramtirtha says with tears in his eyes, he was waiting for the Lord to take him. That doesn't mean he is in a depressed state. He is only waiting for that marriage to take place. That's all. When I say marriage between the Jivatma and Paramatma, as it were, that is a very great state. Because it is like he's saying he's dressed up all like a sati waiting to sacrifice herself in the pyre. Oh, that's a very horrible thing. No, he's only waiting for realization. So that pangs of separation you will go through. That doesn't mean that is any agitation or negativity about it. It is a very, very high state as it is. We'll continue next case now.
Poornam Adah Poornamidam Poornat Poornamudachyate Poornasya Poornamadaya Poornamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.